as you embed yourself more in a community, as you spend more time trying to learn and trying to deliver programming, you discover new insights all the time in ways in which you might be bringing in knowledge that doesn't quite apply, or not quite understanding the ways in which something works in this particular space. We began, I think, just with a higher level. Let's look at the national data about why there might be a problem in this place. So why aren't women particularly accessing contraception, or why is their knowledge of different contraceptive options very low? And then we were particularly focused on the postpartum period, so this period after giving birth, where a mother might be in danger or be prone to having a second pregnancy. And so there are reasons why two pregnancies very close back to back, just outside of the practical considerations for purely kind of health reasons, is quite dangerous both for the mother and for the child. And so this is a point of time in which it can be particularly valuable to make sure that should women wish to, they have access to information around contraceptive methods, around family planning. And so work goes on within the healthcare service. And I think one of the first things that was important for us is really understanding what the actual experience of women was like. So where can they access methods? What kind of information are they receiving? And what are the larger what's the larger cultural sphere around contraceptive access? So one thing, we primarily worked in Ghana. And so one thing, particularly in the north of Ghana, is you have just a much more paternalistic or male-driven approach to decision-making within a household. So in the UK, maybe in the US as well, there's more of a sense that a woman's choice or access to contraception is for her to make as an independent person. Mm-hmm. In Ghana, this was much more considered a family or even a community decision. So the husband, maybe the mother-in-law as well, would expect to have quite significant say over what and when type of access someone might have. And so discovering this, and also discovering the ways in which contraception relates to just people's very different day-to-day experiences. And there are all sorts of more technical or mundane ways in which people relate to the methods that they use in just very different ways. And so maybe an example of this is that not the most fun example, but to have small amounts of bleeding from a use of a contraceptive method in everyday life in a higher income country is an inconvenience, but is maybe not a massive hindrance. But in the predominantly Islamic communities that we were working in, it's considered a taboo for a woman to be bleeding around prayer, and around the preparation of food. And so this goes from being a practical inconvenience to a kind of rupture of the family dynamic in a way that a mother is not able to fulfill basically her family obligations and her role within the family because of this same experience. And so the experience of the same thing can be very vastly different across different places. And there are just lots of different small, seemingly mundane examples of this that have a very large impact on what it looks like to actually deliver work that really is useful to people.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I mean, I've studied the Bible a ton, and it talks about, and I don't know if this translates to modern times, but if women are bleeding, then they're unclean and kind of, separated for a while, and that's in the Old Testament, and then obviously that changes. But yeah, I can, and just from research that I've done or from other nonprofits that are providing things specifically for the menstrual cycle, right? The amount that it takes away from the family, whether that's, cooking or household chores or going to access water, or for kids being girls being able to access education, they have to stay home during
Hmm.
those cycles if they don't have um, the proper resources. And so I think it's just such an important thing because it really helps uplift the whole community when you are empowering the women in that community. So you have been open about your experience of then having to, shut down this nonprofit. So can you walk us through what led that decision and what you took away from it?
Yeah, absolutely. This was unsurprisingly, a very difficult decision for myself and for Sarah, my co-founder. Um, we were very motivated about the idea of the value of the work. That for for women who want to avoid having a pregnancy, the ability to do this is very profound. That if they don't want to have an additional child, that like avoiding this and avoiding the also potential complications of a pregnancy in a lower resource health context. So just like using ultimately facilities and hospitals where the standard of care is lower, avoiding this has very far reaching effects on their income, their well-being, their general experience of their ability to go and live their life as they would like to. But a lot of this value is tied to the impact of taking up contraception on your likelihood of getting pregnant. There's not a separate sphere of value from using contraception. Most of the time, people find it to minor or more major degrees an inconvenience in terms of the side effects or other consequences of needing to use a method. Our work focused on this post-birth period, so this kind of like first year after birth, where there is a substantial drop in the percentage of women in the areas that we were working who use contraceptive methods. So there's just a lot fewer women who are using contraceptive methods in this period. So on the surface, increasing the rates of family planning use in this period should be really valuable. It means that more of these women can avoid having a second pregnancy very close to a first one, avoid the health complications of this, and have the much broader benefits in terms of their income, in terms of their well-being, in terms of their ability to live their life as they would like to.